Okay. Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Equalization meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 19, 2023 at 3 p.m. There's a copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act located on the north wall of the county boardroom. We'll call the meeting to order. We have present today Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Dan Hoynes and our Deputy County Clerk Renee Landsman. We also have our Treasurer Jeff Mikesel and our Assessor Dan Pittman. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4.1 is minutes, September 12, 2023. Deb Hoteling, Clerk Register of Deeds.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 4, abstain, Klug.
Item 4.2 is reconsideration of September 12, 2023 action on tax corrections 17259 to 17270, 17272 to 17273, and 17276 to 17277. Angie Burmeister, Chairman. So occasionally we have come before us issues that for which the county board has little control, that were rulings out of Turk, and for which the county board is only authorized to make certain rulings, often rulings that the county board disagrees with. And this particular issue before us is one of those issues. And I'd like to have Andrea Gosnold Parker give a little bit of an explanation of this issue for us as it pertains to some legal issues.
Essentially, these tax corrections are the last step in the Turk appeal process. The background on this is there were some appeals filed by the county assessor, and they moved through the Turk system. The majority of these tax corrections are part of a group of agricultural appeals. It's my understanding on that the county board presented cases in 2 test cases, and that the order from Turk at that point was to reverse the action of the Board of Equalization. These tax corrections of those agricultural appeals are on the same issue. And so they have moved forward. Turk has issued orders on them. The county board and the taxpayers had 30 days to file an appeal on that. If no appeal is filed in that time period, Turk issues a certification of their decision. This means that in addition to the county board, the taxpayers did not appeal. It is only at that point that they show up on the agenda as tax corrections to implement those orders. The other 2 tax corrections, or I apologize, there's only 1 tax correction for Porterra. That was a residential issue, but it was also one that went to Turk. Arguments were presented from all sides. Turk issued an order. The appeal period has run, and Turk issued a certification of that decision. So at this point, they've come before the board as a tax correction just for basically administrative purposes. It implements the decision, but it's also kind of a check and balance so that tax corrections are not made without multiple eyes looking at it to ensure that it meets legal standards.
So basically, if we vote yes for this, it doesn't mean that we necessarily agree with it. It just means that we're going through the specific process that legally it needs to go through.
Right. If you vote to approve the tax corrections today, it's basically saying I'm following procedure.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Annie?
Well, I just think it'd be worthwhile to shine a little light on this process, and that's why I made a big deal out of it last week. It's a stupid process, and so I'm going to try to work with the county attorney's office next year to draft some statutory language that changes the way we do business. So just to recap, what traditionally happens when somebody appeals the valuation on their property values, they go through the appeal process, and then the county board goes out and hires certified commercial, agricultural, and residential appraisers, licensed appraisers, to look at the property and with the best information they're given, make a valuation determination. Then one of two things can happen. The county assessor's office can either accept the property valuation that the referee came up with and that the board voted to approve, or the assessor can appeal down to the Turk. When they appeal to the Turk, the county board has two options. We can go out and hire an attorney to defend our ruling at the Turk, which is sort of a quasi-legal commission comprised of two lawyers, only one and a third person, maybe four, but right now they only have three. Only one of those four people is a certified appraiser. Two are attorneys, and the at-large person is just, they're all appointed by the governor. So they make a determination. So as you see it, looking at these tax corrections, some of these are from 2018. Okay, it's not a very expeditious process. It's a kind of a quirky quasi-legal commission in that they have rules of evidence and protocols for how taxpayers can try to present information. It's just very, very difficult for anyone without a legal background to go down there and present a case that would help justify the appraisals that were given and awarded by the County Board of Equalization. The downside of all this is no matter who wins, in this case, we're looking at about $8,000 in additional tax being added back on these taxpayers, which is not a substantial amount, especially when you look at the number of years it's involved. But the county attorney represents the county assessor down at the Turk. And so I don't know what that costs, but I know it's not free. We're tying up people's time and effort to drive down to Lincoln. We're tying up the use of attorneys, and if I had to bill it, it would probably run into the tens and thousands of dollars. And then the county board, if we want to present a case, we get to hire an outside attorney because the county attorney's office is representing the assessor, and we get to spend tens of thousands of more dollars to help defend our case and to assist the taxpayers. So if you guys can't see the irony in this system and how bad it is for the taxpayers, then I don't know. I mean, I can't paint a better picture for you. It's a dumb process. It makes absolutely no sense. It's not timely. We're going to rule today on tax changes or taxes that were originally assessed in 2018, 5 years ago. 5 years ago. So the system is broke and it needs a complete overhaul. And fortunately for county boards, there's a fella that runs our NACO organization that used to work in the Department of Revenue. So there's probably not very many people out there that have better insight and knowledge of the tax process on how it works, not only on the county board end, but on the assessor's end and on the state's end. So I just think moving forward, I'm never going to approve of the county board hiring an attorney to go down and defend us at the Turk, because it's just, even if we win, we lose because the legal fees run more than the tax savings that are realized. And I'm also not going to be very supportive of really any elected official in the county spending money on legal fees to do anything at the Turk. So I don't know what that solution looks like moving forward, but I just know that it puts the County Board of Equalization and the county assessor at odds, and basically pits us against each other in an adversarial kind of a relationship, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the county, it's not healthy for the assessor's office, and it's certainly not healthy for the taxpayers. So I don't want to vote for this, but I also don't want to have a bunch of legal fees, more legal fees, I might add, because you can't do anything in this business without a lawyer, apparently, thrown on top of the taxpayers just because I'm trying to make a point. So, but I am not ceding victory to the Turk or to the county assessor's office here. This system's broke, and it just happens to be working in their favor this time. But if we can get statutory language pushed through the legislature that maybe at least gives people pause for to review and a little bit of concern, and shines a light on this, because I've been doing this for 10 years. I still don't understand the process completely. And so I can only sympathize with taxpayers who come up against this, and they go through all this time and effort and cost to appeal their tax valuation at the county level, and they find out that they got a favorable ruling from a certified appraiser and referee, only to find out that, no, psych, assessor's going to take you to Turk, and now you got to go down to Lincoln for years on end to try to win your case down there. So it just seems ridiculous. It's a total waste of money, both for the taxpayer, for the assessor's office, and for the county board. But it's the system that we have.
So, Annie, in this situation, we're kind of limited in our options. Did you have some insight for us there, or did you have further comment?
Well, I did want to make a point of clarification. Due to the conflict of interest, the county attorney actually didn't represent either party in this case. Both the assessor and the board had outside counsel. As far as options moving forward, my office is glad to work with the board to look at language to be proposed for statutory change and things like that we can do to try to address this and make it a more friendly process.
And actually, that's part of the problem, to Don's point, is neither side can have the county attorney represent them because it's a conflict, so that's why it's so expensive, and why we have to be mindful of that in a situation where statute doesn't allow us to, change what's happening. We don't want to spend a lot of taxpayer money on something that we don't have authority over. So looking at the authority might be the way to go there. Did you want to make a motion, Don, or did you want me to make a motion?
I want to make a comment. Mr. Pittman, would you come up, please? I want to ask you a question. In this case, or in all of these, your office decided to contest these. What kind of latitude do you have to do that, or to accept what the
Referee.
our referee suggested? So what kind of latitude do you have? And I'm asking this question because when I look, here's one item, it's $22.18. There's another one, okay, same name but different property, $30.18. I think the highest one on here is $1,000, $1,091.04. And when I look at that, and Commissioner Kelly made the point that it's less than $9,000, what's the point?
Well, that's where the focus has been, unfortunately, because it's not about that. It's about equalization, that you can't take a person who comes and protests change their value and leave the others hanging that did not protest. Largely in this case, it was about the land model that we've had for over 10 years now. The county boards disagreed with it, and so every year it got changed, and I made a decision at one point that, well, I think someone had mentioned that if the county assessor didn't like it, they could go down and appeal it. That way the county assessor has to prove its point. Because the county board has to goes in the room with the assumption they've done their work and they're correct. Until some evidence proves that that may be in question, then the whole thing goes to best evidence, and that's where the county assessor prevailed, because we have the best evidence. That's not to say the county assessor is right. We explained our case. We laid out our land model to help the Turk understand it. They tried to understand the county side through Barry Couch, I believe, is the person you sent up there to testify on that. And they simply ruled for the county assessor. So I know in the dollar amount, when it comes to taxes, it doesn't add up that much, but it's about treating everybody the same.
And I'm going to make one last point on this. You know, about trying to be equal on taxes. We're never going to get there. Never. And so we go through all of these motions, and it doesn't solve anything other than cost more money to the taxpayers because they're paying these bills. And I say that, and I'm going to bring up one last item, and that item had to do when we were going through adjustments that you brought back, and you had someone in your office get a tax. It was ruled in their favor. And again, I could bring up equality on that. I did not protest my taxes, but I had the same damage that she did on my roof. Okay? And the only reason, because she applied and she had access to other information because she was denied initially.
Yes, that's
But
true.
then she brought up another point because she had access because she worked in the assessor's office.
Those were all facts.
Do you think that's fair?
You know, it's she happened to work in the assessor's office, had some inside knowledge that is on the internet, but she knew where to look and where to get the information, and she used it to her advantage.
Okay. And to my detriment. Is that fair?
No, I don't think it's fair.
Okay. So again, when we're going through this, I just, you know, and I remember you had this nice 3-sentence, whatever, how we're trying to do all this and be equal and everything. And I think I even said at that time, it's not there. And it never will be there. I mean, we're trying to do the best. But yes, and I agree with Commissioner Kelly, we got an archaic system of the way we do things, and we spend a lot of money trying to come up with this assessment that goes to this person's property, and we're trying to make it fair across the boards of 93 counties that are very different in nature. And it's just not ever going to happen. I just wanted to share that, because what's not fair is I paid a lot more in taxes because I didn't know the loophole. I didn't know that, oh, my roof was damaged. I can, even though my roof is going to be fixed, which makes no sense to me that you should even be able to get that allowed. But again, I think I made my point about fairness, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
And again, you know, I appreciate you have a statutory requirement to equalize property. The problem, where I have the problem, is not necessarily with that requirement. It's that requirement ends at Harrison Street. I could have a farm out in western Sarpy County whose first acre is going to be evaluated differently than a farm on the north side of Harrison in Douglas County. And so equalization matters not if my next door neighbor gets a better deal than I do or gets a different valuation. So if the goal is to really equalize property, it ought to be equalized across county lines in metropolitan areas, assuredly, because otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. It actually punishes people that live in Sarpy County because we assess their property value every single year, and we assess it in a particular manner that is not consistent or done anywhere else.
That's not true. It's absolutely not true.
You're telling me that a farm in
telling you
Douglas
it's not
County
true.
gets assessed every year, reevaluated?
Yes, I'm telling you, they get looked at every
I
year.
don't think so, Mr.
Well,
Pittman.
yeah, I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Okay, well, tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, you're wrong in saying they don't get looked at every year. Every county looks at all their property every year. They do have different methodologies on how they break out their acres, but they do look at them. You can go ask any of the assessors, and they'll tell you that's what they do.
Do they value the first acre the same way Sarpy County does?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
They have
so
their
how
own
do you have
methodology.
then how do you have equalization?
Well, I wish the statutes would dictate how we do that, but we don't. So we took it to Turk and said, here's our methodology. If you have an issue with it, then you need to tell us now so we can change our methodology. I've even offered, and I've talked to you and Commissioner Burmeister, that we could go get a third party to come and build our own model for Sarpy County that we could agree on and leave it at that. That hasn't happened.
We went through your model pretty extensively about 4 or 5 years ago, and we had your experts come in and try to explain the regression analysis in it, and they couldn't.
It's not regression analysis.
They couldn't even explain how it
How
worked.
about Barry Couch? Was he able to explain it to you?
I just would just like to see our first acre agricultural values assessed the same way they are across the state, and they're not. Now, you cannot say that's not a true statement.
I can. Did you just say that we should have make your statement again?
60 acre,
Yeah, make your
60,000
statement again about, was it about Douglas County and Sarpy County?
Douglas, Cass, pick any county, I don't
Okay,
care.
as soon as the state requires us to equalize with the neighboring county, I'm happy to do it. I can probably do it pretty well, but they don't, and I can't make up the laws.
Why are we the only state that values the first acre at the
No,
price we do?
we're not.
We're not.
No.
Okay. Perhaps we can peel back that onion layer a little further and sit down with the board and show us how it's done here and everywhere else so we understand it better. Because I'm being honest, Mr. Pittman, I don't really understand it.
Well, once again, I want to make the recommendation that when two parties disagree, and there was a third party too, say Barry Couch.
Right.
We can bring in the authority, the international authority, IAAO, and say, look at this, this is what we did. What do you see wrong? You say, well, you might be a little rich on this end, maybe you're putting too much weight on that acre. Come up with the methodology, let you guys look at it. If you need, you have well, Barry Couch, let's just say, that position, they could look at it, they signed off on it, said, look, this seems to be fair, we can apply this to everybody. Then this will put this to rest, I think. Now, maybe oversimplifying it, but you don't like coming back to it, I don't like coming back to it. This is gonna stay with me to the end of my term because we keep arguing about this. And this is what, the 11th, 12th year?
Yeah. Maybe longer.
Anyhow, I appreciate you hearing me out. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to rescind September 12, 2023 action on tax corrections 17259 to 17270, 17272 to 17273, and 17276 to 17277, and to approve such tax corrections.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
I don't have the vote button yet.
Yeah, I got the
I don't either.
second buttons up still.
You don't even have them? Oh,
It's
yeah, you
up
do.
now, I refreshed.
A's 3, abstain Warren and Kelly. Motion carried.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned. We'll reset for the Board of Commissioners.
I'm ready.
Okay. Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 19, 2023. It is 3:25 p.m. Call the meeting to order. We have present today Commissioners Kelly, Klug, Warren, Mixon, and Burmeister, along with our County Administrator Dan Hoynes and our Deputy County Clerk Renee Lansman. We'll start with Commissioners, Administrator announcements and comments. We'll start with Commissioner, I guess, with Commissioner Kelly because he's shaking his head no. So,
No comments, thank you.
No comment.
Dan?
Yes, Madam Chair, just a quick reminder, the LB 644 hearing is this week, Thursday evening, Bellevue East High School, the auditorium. I'd like to publicly recognize and appreciate the clerk's office for helping me understand the process, and the attorney's office, I think, has been involved. So I think we're prepared. Katie and Emily have also put together a good, I think, public digestible information to talk about what is kind of a confusing process, but that will take place Thursday evening. So I think it's streamed audio, not video, if any of you are interested in listening in.
Okay. Item number 4 is the consent commissioner agenda. These are items of business that are routine, which are expected to be adopted without dissent. Items are automatically approved when the consent agenda is approved unless an item is removed by a commissioner or any member of the public. And would anyone like to see any items removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Mixon. Any discussion? Please vote.
A's 5, nays none. Motion carried.
Item 5.1 is minutes, September 12, 2023, Deb Hotel and Clerk Register of Deeds. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
A's 4, abstain Klug. Motion carried.
Item 5.2 is Resolution 2023-286, change order number 2 for New Earth Construction in the amount of $162,196.73, and no additional days for construction of the Commerce Lift Station Replacement Project. Scott Bovick, Deputy Administrator.
Wondering if I should ask to table this item. Anyway, Commerce Lift Station, just a quick refresher of what Commerce Lift Station is, where it's located. It's on the western end of the county's Papillion Creek sanitary sewer system. And the original Commerce Lift Station has been there for over 30 years and has taken a beating over the years with all the industrial growth that's happening in the area. So we had identified before a plan to replace the Commerce Lift Station. And the board will remember that we dedicated ARPA funds to do that replacement. The pink area that you see on your map is the area that flows into this lift station and then gets pumped back to the east. So if you're driving southwest or west on I-80 and you look to your left up the hill, there's still some vacant ground. All that area flows into the Commerce Lift Station, and that development is called Steel Ridge South. And Rotello's is the first, project that's been built over in that area, the new Rotello's warehouse. Walmart and the area at the 370 interchange also flow into this lift station. So this is the second change order. The first change order, after we awarded the bid and our coordination with the city of Gretna, they requested that we use different fencing for aesthetics around the lift station once it's built. So we did have a small change order there to accommodate that request. Here's a couple pictures just for you to see the size and scale of what we're doing in terms of the lift station. And if you wanted me to describe any of that, I'd have to have Kevin come up here and talk you through that. But if you have questions, we're happy to talk through those. So to explain this change order, we wanted to look at this map. The map on the left is the original design of the lift station. As you can see from this plan design, there's lots of utilities that run through this area. Before design started, HDR, our engineer, had their surveying company go out and do a survey. We also had the locates go out and locate all the utilities. They located all the utilities, including this yellow line, which is an 8-inch water main. What was not located was this blue line, which is a 12-inch water main. So we did the design based on that water main not being identified or located. When the contractor got out on site, before they started work, they also did another locate, which did not identify the 12-inch main. And then they, when Kevin released them to start work, they did hydrovacking, probing, not large excavation, just probing, and that's when they found the blue line. As we look back to see when that line was put in, it was put in almost at the same time as our initial lift station. We filed an easement on our lift station. MUD filed an easement on their water main. Neither of them caught each other or crossed over, so there was an awareness between the two parties to do that. Looking at where that line runs, once the contractor discovered it, HDR at no cost quickly started a redesign. So if you look at these things, I call them crop circles, but this was the original design. This is the new design that was turned around really quickly. And then the red on the right-hand map is bypass that's needed because of the location of that blue water line. So in looking at that, so that's kind of the story of what happened there. In the change order, you have some reductions and some additions that get us to the amount listed in the agenda. About $70,000 of that cost is for the red line, the pumping, that would have been necessary even if we would have known that the 12-inch line was there, just because of the way that all those utilities run. And talking with Kevin and kind of doing a project review, we think the lesson learned here is in the future, when we get to 30%, we probably have a formal meeting with the utility departments, utility companies, just to make sure that everyone has a chance to identify those lines in case we miss something in the as-built and easements or in those locates. And so, we don't think that'll be an issue in the future. And then again, just, there's a lot of stuff going on in this area, working in a tight location. And so just kind of a challenge to do that. We did not lose any time on this. We're able to redesign and keep the contractor moving. So we're still on schedule. Project will be done by the end of this year. The last remaining piece will be done in spring of '24, which is a generator. We're waiting long lead time for that to be delivered for this project. And then coordinating with the City of Papillion, City of Gretna, all the developments in the area to make sure that this is up and ready to roll when they're ready to tie into it. So lots of information there. Happy to answer any questions. And if you need anything more technical, I'll have to have Kevin come up and talk to you.
Questions for Scott?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Klug, second by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is adjourned.
Okay.